What's the next thing? What's the first thing on his agenda as he's going? So what happens when he dies?
It all depends on where your consciousness is, or what type of death you have. There could be a painful death, and then there could be a death where, for instance, somebody can get knocked outside of their body so fast until they don't know they're dead, and they'll go home and knock on the door and nobody answers. About like what happened in the movie Ghost. You remember what's your boy in there? Patrick Swayze. And he didn't know he was dead at first because he got snatched out of his body so quick. And when he got home and all, he didn't realize why nobody wasn't recognizing him. And part of the movie, which was an excellent movie, you see, that came out in 1990. Part of the movie was based on him trying to get a foothold on what happened when he died. Most people, when they first die, they'll go see this light. It's called the astral light. The astral light is the astral plane. It is set up to retrieve the soul, to get it trapped back in a cycle of reincarnation. So when you go towards the light, it is the astral light, which is the astral plane, which is ruled by a group of entities called the demiurge, or the Devashanic plane is what it's called. It's ruled by the Deva spirits, the Orishas, or the Olympian spirits.
So now, are the Orishas, should we be walking, which this goes into the third question, which is, and we can merge these two together, as, you know, the walking towards the light, should this, like in the 80s, from when I was a child, you always hear people with these death experience. I seen my family there. I seen uncles and grandfathers saying, come towards the light. So that that we can merge both of these questions together.
Okay, right.
Are they helping us?
No, those are souls that's trapped. Let me give you a pyramid structure of how this thing goes.
Okay.
You got two realms. You have the Devashanic plane, which basically snatched the souls up to get them ready for a cycle of reincarnation. Now that reincarnation can be 50 years, 100 years. The older the soul, the longer it takes to reincarnate. Younger, and especially those ones that don't have a soul, because you do have those people, they can reincarnate faster. So you to reincarnate faster, we'll give you the what's going on here. It's being ruled by a group of entities called the demiurge, the Olympian deities, the Orishas, the Devas, the shining ones, and their light is a prism. It's the astral light. And in so many words, they get you into this cycle of reincarnation, or what I would like to say, reincarceration. Doing time on planet Earth, reincarceration.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? This is the lowest plane. No one really needs to really be here or wants to be here. It's got good sense other than when you take on a human body. You are duped into being here because the first thing happens, which is so bad about it, is if you came back as an adult, you would understand the game. Hey, wait a minute. We're doing this shit over and over and over again. That's why they snatch you back into a small brain of a baby, which means that small brain is almost like a piece of oblivion. It's so dumb until it has to regain memory. And although it's regaining memory, it has certain elements of the previous life. As it gets more and more morphed into the life that it is now incarnated in, that life basically diminishes or extinguishes the life prior to it. So the brain is developed to, number one, tap into, number one, coincide with the life that it is reincarnated into, and give data and to basically notice the world that is encased in. But it's also developed to somehow suppress the previous life, which is only in the memory of the soul, which the connection of that soul is the pineal gland, the brain up under the brain.
Okay.
So in so many words, all this is a cosmic trick by a group of entities that only exist through your ignorance of your soul and your knowledge of the universe that gives them their energy. So in so many words, they exist through you. There's a story before H.P. Lovecraft, there was another guy by the name of Lord Doomsley that was having these dreams. For him, it was Bulwer Lytton was having these dreams. 1800, Lord Doomsley was the early 1900s, and he wrote a book called The Gods of Pegana. And he talked about how this great mother went to sleep, and these children in this particular case is these particular false beings, they're prisms. They don't have the power to be the gods of the universe or the gods of the omniverse. But they have the power to create an alternative world for themselves by trapping souls in those worlds, and those souls are being dumbed down based on some type of trap. That is the human brain that is developed from a child. So the gods of Pegana talks about they have one particular god that is one of these children gods, and he beats this drum. And he beats this drum to keep a certain pulsation of sleep. You see, for not only the great mother who's in a slumber, but the children is in a slumber. And should that beat ever stop, the old gods will wake up. You see what I'm saying? In this particular case, if you break it back down to the human physiology, it's talking about the brain. It's talking about the brain. Some of the Gnostic material, Bentley Layton's book will make mention about the children, but a book from the 1950s called Gnostic Religion by Hans Jonas gets into that particular Gnostic religion by Hans Jonas gets into that particular part about the children, the babies, and the babies. So in so many words, what I'm saying here, this is incarceration by a group of subordinate deities that gained a foothold on the earth and the universe or whatever, while the pristine deities went into a form of a hibernation.
So now, and this was
so that the demiurge, so that light that you go to is their realm. So tricking you into that, right? Right. To be free of them is to go to the dark, which is the realm of primal sleep.
Oh, okay.
Primal sleep. So they talk about this. When a man sleeps, he goes to his true self. The Quran says when a man sleeps, he is dead. You see, but it's a primal realm that inside, but also it's a primal realm. When you're inside of this physical realm, it is so opposite this realm until you usually have fear of it, especially children.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Especially children. We'll get into that particular aspect.
I want to ask you this now, because you mentioned this, the Orishas are part of the demiurge.
Yes.
Now, a lot of these brothers walk around, they want to tap into the Orishas.
Yes.
So are you saying the Orishas are on our side?
Yeah, let me give you a brief history of that. You got Oda Dumare, who is this father, who is supposed to be the father, but he's more of a father of the astral plane. Legba, Ogun, Obatala, Shango have their hands on creating the earth. They shut Oshun out a little bit, but they have their hands on creating the earth. And in the concept of that, there's some pre-creation deities that are in opposition for them creating the earth. It's the same biblical story of, let me give you an example, the biblical story of Satan and his spawn saying, we're not going to bow down to man. You see what I'm saying? And God saying, you need to bow down to man. It's really a deeper story than that. We just get the edited myth, but if you get a greater mythology that the Jews have our stuff. There's a book by the name of Rappaport. It's called The Legends of Israel, and in there they have an extended version of this thing. And you find out in actuality this was a cosmic drama that's being played between Satan and his angels and stuff. And the reason why they didn't want to bow down to man in this particular thing is a greater story. They didn't want to become man, so they was rejecting becoming into a physical body.
Right.
So bowing down was, get used to it, humble yourself, and be our slaves. But Satan just remembered, no, we not that. We gods of light.
Right.
But they had to get used to this particular physical body. Well, it's the same thing happened in the Orisha myth. The one you want to get is a book called Good and Evil. That's the name of this thing. It's called Good and Evil in Europe or something. I've said it on some other thing. It's a book by a guy that's dead now by the name of Margie. And in there they talk about this struggle between these gods that don't want to be in the human form, and they go to battle with Elegbar and these crew who created this particular earth for them to be into. And as a result, Elegbar and them ultimately wins. It's the same story, which makes Elegbar and them these demiurge type characters. They are Olympian deities. So if you want to get a better clarity, you compare this with the Titan story, or the Titans not wanting to be cast down, but Zeus strikes them with an arrow and burn them up and then use their ashes to make man. You see what I'm saying? Those Titans are pristine deities that rule the universe prior to the younger group of deities who are subordinate deities that want to create this box job wonder world for themselves by using the older material to trap them down in this thing. So it's the same thing. It's the same demiurge material. I would say so there's several myths, but one of them would be the Titan myth. You see, one would be the Gnostic myth and all, and even the Egyptian myth in the coffin text. In the coffin text, they talk about Ra being old and feeble. He invites all the gods to dinner and swallows them all up. So he said, how can he swallow all the gods up? It's the same story of basically taking these advanced entities, inviting them to dinner, and eating them up, which means in actuality he trapped them into the realm of the physical and slowed down the vibration rate or the vibratory rate to trap these gods in the physical. We got one little piece that survives in the coffin text. The other piece to give you the indication that something happened was Ra overthrowing Apep, the great dragon or form of the great mother. But then again, you have the pre-dynastic mythology going up into Babylon and surviving, where Marduk defeats Tiamat, the great dragon or the great mother, and used her blood to make the earth, her husband's blood, Kingu, to make humans. So we're still talking about a pristine ancient deity being trapped in these physical forces by some younger entities, our children. You see what I'm saying? Our particular children. Going back into, because all this stuff coincides. You got to know about the demiurge and know about this death and know why we're trapped and know what happens after you die in the pitfalls.
Right.
So, and so it's